If you thought I was crazy for posting about astrology on my social media stories, then you're going to absolutely love this video, which is all about the planet Venus transiting the sign of Virgo for approximately the next 3 weeks. This began on July 8th and it will last until August 6th. So it's a relatively short 3 or so week transit. Venus is one of the faster moving planets, so it can just help create a sort of tonal shift regarding love, beauty, how we're feeling, relationships, our approach to things like friendship, harmony. It can also change things around a little bit regarding women in our lives, mothers, daughters, sisters, etc., which are all signified through the planet Venus. Also, feelings of gentle support can come through Venus. So, since Venus is a faster moving planet, like I said, this tonal shift takes place about every 3 weeks or so, depending on the retrograde cycle, which we will have a Venus retrograde coming up. That will be in the signs of Scorpio and Libra. So, in this video, I'm going to be discussing some things that I have personally noticed in my life already that signify that tonal shift of Venus entering the sign of Virgo. And what we can do is see potentially where these are also taking place in your life or where you may be seeing a shift in focus toward these topics. But for this Venus transit, when I sit back and look at the ways it's affecting me personally, even, I've already noticed a number of things taking place that definitely kind of show and express that Venus movement that just happened within the last couple of days. Some of the things that have been taking place is I've been going over my budget because I'll be moving soon. So Venus can definitely have to do with things of that nature. I'll explain more of that in just a moment. But also, since I've been looking at my budget to prepare for a move, this is all very organization, research, and planning oriented. And it's also about planning kind of the beauty of the space I'll be moving into. Planning for the enjoyment. What types of things will I be able to do once I move to the area? So I've been researching activities, and this is very Venus in Virgo. It's not necessarily just the enjoyment that comes with Venus, but it is the planning and the structure and the consideration, the analysis also that comes in on the Virgo side of things. Budgeting, anything related to planning or routines, and also anything related to your health, your body, research and analysis of any of these functions that have been taking place in your life, and also planning or restructuring of them. Venus brings an aspect of beauty and style and consideration regarding relationships as well, where the sign of Virgo speaks to a more analytical nature that can even tend to pick things apart at times and be quite self-critical. So in my own life, for example, I'll be moving soon, so I've been going over the details for that move. So that very much includes my budget. That includes looking at my budget and seeing what type of food I will be purchasing. How will that be affecting my health and my body? What kind of activities I'll be able to do when I move, and how that will overall contribute to enjoyment in my life. But one thing is, you can see with Virgo in Venus, you can see how researching activities for enjoyment is not the same thing as enjoying activities. Research is analytical and enjoyment is more of an embodied process. So, what can happen when the planet Venus transits the sign of Virgo is there can be a slight sense of discomfort at times, and that is because Virgo is a sign that is ruled by the planet Mercury naturally, and Mercury is about analysis and picking things apart. It's about commerce and anything related to merchants, the marketplace. And it's a very thoughtful sign. It's not the harmonious and embodied nature that Venus likes to experience. One recent experience I had that reminds me of this transit very much is I was at the park recently with my daughter, and there were three young girls playing there with her who were all sisters. The oldest of the sisters had started this game where she sat on the slide and she said that the slide is closed. No one can play on the slide. You have to bring me 10 of this object, like 10 leaves or 10 walnuts, for example. And at first, especially the Pisces sun side of me, I was like, oh my gosh, is this girl about to kind of, take over play? And is it going to be kind of less enjoyable? What exactly is this about to be like? But I noticed that her sisters didn't really seem to share that sentiment. They seemed, totally fine. And I thought, okay, maybe this is a game that they play. And as we continued the game, I realized it was actually so much fun. And I was so glad that this little girl had brought this game up. And the main premise of the game was there are these rules and there are things you have to do. And I'll be pleased when you do these things. And if you do them, I'll open the bridge and you can go down. You have this much time to go down. And it was honestly an incredibly fun game. And if we didn't have that little girl there with us, the oldest sister taking this responsibility, making these rules as part of this game, there was no malicious intent at all. It was actually just a really fun game to play. And if we didn't have that structure that she had introduced, then we wouldn't have got to play that game. So that's a really good example of the Pisces Virgo axis and how structure can actually be a key necessity to facilitate creativity and enjoyment. The little girl, the oldest girl who made the game, she also, I noticed at certain points, she wanted to take time to not be the one who was holding up the slide. She wanted to take time to be one of the people who was also going around. And that's an interesting point about the sort of responsibility sharing and how sometimes Virgo people can feel like it all depends on them. And again, it wasn't that serious. We were just playing a game. But I did notice how after a little while she kind of wanted to go around, and it was very healthy and enjoyable game, and she was able to do that. And that's kind of exactly what a lot of Virgo people really want and need, especially if there's a lack of balance or there's something going on that's a little bit stressful. There can be kind of this responsibility sharing that takes place, because as you can imagine already in this kind of symbolism, we're talking about the oldest sister here already. So she's kind of this figure to her younger sisters, which is also something Virgo can represent, I believe, is these feminine figures who are sort of growing up. She did also mention to me something that her mother said, but I really can't quite remember what it was. It was along the lines of her mother had said something to her about something about rigidity, or her mother said that she like cleans too much or something like that, which is very apt for the sign of Virgo as well. There can be a tendency with Virgo to lean towards being excessively neat, but you have to remember it's on that axis of potential. So where there's a possibility for excessive neatness, there's also kind of a likelihood in people I have seen where they're actually the messiest people you could possibly imagine. And that's also a good talking point for when you're considering when a Virgo is overcome with this sort of analysis paralysis and self-criticism. It really paralyzes and it makes it hard to accomplish things for that sign. So, as Venus transits the sign of Virgo for approximately the next 3 weeks, maybe you can consider for yourself what areas of life this is showing up for you. If you know your rising sign, you can research and find the areas of life. It would be the particularly Virgo and Gemini areas of the chart, as those are the Mercury ruled areas. If you've seen any of this taking place in your life with a little extra focus starting around July 8th, congratulations, you are an active and willing participant in Venus's transit through the sign of Virgo.